What's going on, Just Love fam? As some of you may recall from the conclusion of the mandatory SRY testing video, I said that Mrs. DRJ and I were heading to the Western Southern Open. Well, we made it. We made it, y'all. It was nice. It was nice. So this was our first tennis tournament experience, like official full practice courts, matches, food, music, the works. And it was hot. It was rainy. So it was Cincinnati in summer, but it was a fantastic time. So we had a few players on our agenda that we wanted to meet because my favorite player, Gael Monfils, this is his last season. Mrs. DRJ's favorite player, Kei Nishikori, is also retiring at the end of this season. Both were scheduled to be there. And so we had them on our list. Obviously, Coco Gauff, Taylor Townsend, Frances Tiafoe, Naomi Osaka, Venus and Serena Williams. Unfortunately, Naomi Osaka pulled out from Cincinnati, so she was not on the grounds. So that's one player that we unfortunately did not get the opportunity to meet. But there were plenty of tennis folk there. Those of us who love to watch, those of us who love to play, and the pros that make it happen. So on day one, the first day of qualifying, so this is Tuesday. So Tuesday, 8/11, we got to the grounds for the first time, and we're trying to figure out who was on the practice courts. It was supposed to rain that day and did ultimately deliver, but again, we were on the hunt to try and make sure that we got to, if not meet, at least see some of our favorite players. And so for day one, we got to see Gael Monfils clowning on the practice courts. A bunch of other folks were standing and watching. Even in practice, he puts on a bit of a show. But I was there with my Wakanda shirt on and was just ready to be able to meet him. Unfortunately, just as his practice was about to conclude, the heavens opened and we made our way to shelter, which in this instance turned out to be the wonderfully air-conditioned fan zone, a more beefed up edition for this year's Cincinnati Open. And they have plenty of stuff going on in the fan zone, from some snacks, full practice court that is legit to the standards that the pros play. They also had Andrew Krasny and some other folks there to talk tennis topics while folks were waiting out the rain and doing other things. But on that particular day, again, as I said, I had my Black Panther shirt and everything on. And lo and behold, on this first day in Mason, Ohio, where the Cincinnati Open is held, we stumble upon Black Panther's significant other. And no, I'm not talking about Chadwick Boseman's wife. And no, I'm not talking about David Johnson's partner, the future Black Panther. I'm talking about our current MCU Black Panther of our hearts, Wakanda Forever, Letitia Wright. We run into her significant other randomly, strike up a conversation, and just have ourselves a good time despite the rain. For those of you who know me and know how deep my love for the Black Panther goes, that just made our day, and to be quite honest, our week. I was like, if it just keeps raining like this, so be it. But we done seen some folks. I met some folks, and this has already been a great week. So love to Letitia, her partner, Wakanda Forever, and we look forward to seeing you on Doomsday. The rains did finally let up, and we were able to get back out, walk around on the grounds, and stumbled upon Sloane Stevens practice with her coach Kamal Murray, founder of the XS Tennis Village, where we play here in Chicago during the winter especially. We were able to talk with her for a bit, got her to sign some things, and we made yet another new friend, Dr. Jazz, who I think is going to be a lifelong friend. But I tell you, it was a heck of a first day for the Cincinnati Open, but that was day one. The tally is, got to meet Letitia's boo, Sloane Stevens, Dr. Jazz, and that's just all on day one. So, day two. Day two. Technically, second day of qualifying was a complete washout. Day two was completely rained out. We were still on a high from day one, getting up and looking at the forecast, looking at the clock, because we were pretty wiped from the drive there to Cincinnati, but then also all of the great folks that we got to meet on day one, because even though it's a tennis tournament and you think things can be pretty straightforward, tennis does not have the greatest history when it comes to being a person of color. And then you add to that Ohio is a red state, and for all of the foolishness that goes along with that thought process, we're happy to say that most of the folks that we met were just absolutely wonderful. Many were also coming in from out of town like us, but the native Ohioans that we met there were really good people. I get why presidential candidates, at least in the past, would travel from state to state, getting to meet folks to get a sense of what the concerns were for people, rural, urban, just so that you would have an idea who it is that you are going to try and represent. I hope that those days are not gone, but there are some decent folk in Ohio, and even though we didn't get to see any on day two, it was still, actually that's not altogether true. So on day two we did go to get some chili, because apparently chili is a big deal in the Cincinnati area. They have something called ways. Chili done several ways. I think it's like 3-way, 4-way, 5-way, 6-way, and it's just the addition of one more ingredient. So instead of just getting chili at this particular diner, they had Guy's Way, Guy Fieri, and he's a simple man like me, and he just likes his chili with, I think, some cheese and some oyster crackers. That's the simple way, but they do it 3-way, 4-way, 5-way, 6-way, and add cheese and onions and spaghetti. And so got to learn about the ways of Cincinnati. I also got to try something called Geta, or Goethe. No, it's from German immigrants. It is somewhat similar to Scrapple. For those of you who grew up in the Pennsylvania area, know the Pennsylvania Dutch. It is a way to stretch meat products with some sort of grain binder, usually eaten for breakfast. I grew up on Scrapple, but Goethe was not bad. It's Goethe. So it's Goeta. Goethe. And so the Goethe was delicious. So got to try Goethe. Got to try chili 5 ways. It was a good use of the washed out Wednesday that we did not get to see any tennis, but we did get to experience some of Cincinnati. No players, no tennis, just rain. That's day 2. Day 3. Day 3 was the official start of the tournament. They apparently got most of the qualifying matches done under cover of darkness the night before. So even though the event and the grounds were closed to ticket holders and fans, they did get qualifying matches done indoors, so they could move ahead and kick off the tournament. The Open kicked off that Thursday, the 13th, and we got to see our girl from Chicago, Taylor Townsend, tough out a very hard-fought win in that opening round against Camila Osorio. It didn't look great during that first set, but she did a wardrobe change, came out in the hot pink, and girl just lit it up. So when we headed out from Chicago to Cincinnati, Taylor Townsend was definitely one of the folks that we wanted to see. And so we got to see her win. We were not able to get her attention, to get her to sign any of the stuff that we had for her to sign. We tried to catch her at the Tennis Channel desk, but unfortunately in Cincinnati, because it's so hot, they don't have the open backing to the Tennis Channel studio where you can hear the fans cheering. They are enclosed in glass and AC. We tried to get her attention, but we were not able to, so a little disappointing there, but at least we got to see her win, and we cheer her on every time we get the opportunity. We did get to meet Nick, and let me clarify, not Nick Kyrgios. There was no cocaine. There was nothing happening in Cincinnati that was illegal on our end. This is Nick Monroe, a tennis commentator and former double specialist. A great guy, part of Tennis Channel's Second Serve lineup. That has quickly become one of my favorite ways to watch. Back when we had cable, used to always do Tennis Channel, and there was the traditional studio set up, and love me some Chanda Rubin, Paul Anacone, Steve Weissman, the usual folks who would be there at the desk. Brett Haber, Lindsay Davenport, Tracy Austin, so on and so forth. Second Serve is a much more dynamic and interactive experience for those who like to watch matches, as long as you're okay with matches being interrupted with interviews with guests that they have come on, players, folks who are tennis influencing, doing their own things surrounding tennis. They do a lot of that. And so definitely one of my new favorite ways to watch it, and Nick is one of my favorite folks to watch do it. So we got to meet Nick again because this was the official first day. We had tickets for center court, and on center court, as expected, was Gael Monfils. I was there to cheer him on. Knew that rain was again in the forecast. Mrs. DRJ had been invited by Dr. Jazz to join her with Ian's aces. So Ian Broomfield, Francis Tiafoe's significant other, invited some folks on Instagram to join her for Cincinnati Open tickets, drinks, to watch Gael Monfils on center court. And so my wife was doing that. I was sitting on center court waiting for Gael to arrive. He did. He and Rinky Hijikata played, I think, 2 games. Then the heavens opened and he was out. And so I sat in the rain for about 20-30 minutes, waiting to see if the rains would subside. Most everybody had left. Was chatting with a gentleman in the row in front of me, and then got a message from my wife, and she's like, everybody's coming to the fan zone because of the rain. You need to not be sitting out in the rain. So I went joined my wife with Ian's aces, and so got to hang with my wife, Dr. Jazz, and a few of the young ladies who were there with the very sweet Ian Broomfield. We also got to meet Ian's mom, because Ian was celebrating her birthday, and they were so sweet, had cake and everything for her, so it was just really another lovely time. Just something about that fan zone, y'all. Just keep meeting some great folks in that fan zone. They did eventually get back out on the court after the rain, but my guy lost. With that loss, I was absolutely certain was the end of my opportunity to be able to meet my tennis idol, Gael Monfils, and get his signature, just be able to talk with him and let him know that we met Elina many years ago here in Chicago. And I still wanted to ask, did Elina give him the Black Panther pin that I had for him? We may never know the answer to that question, but I don't know if he ever got it. Maybe she lost it in transit from Chicago to her next destination. But, you know, at least I got to see Gael practice and play. And then day 3, the first day of official play, came to an end. Day 3. Day 3 ended with a bit of a whimper, with Gael's loss and the fact that he was no longer going to be in the tournament. But again, had some very wonderful experiences over the course of day 3, and we were still excited about what was to come for day 4. Day 4, the second day of play for the tournament. Qualifying was finally all finished. And on day 4, we were wandering around on the grounds, again, trying to see who we could see, what players we could catch. And we stumbled upon Katerina Siniakova playing with Zhang Shui. They were just practicing, hitting some amazing shots. It was just the two of them, so unlike most times when you might see them, they weren't on the same side of the net, but they were hitting to each other, finding those great shots, getting ready, because both were playing singles and doubles. This tournament, they were not scheduled to play together as a doubles team because Covatown was getting back together. Katerina Siniakova and Taylor Townsend back at it again. So day 4, really just trying to see who we could see, catching some folks here and there, able to get a few signatures for the balls and stuff that we had. And I'm sure there was more rain that day, because I don't think that there were completely dry days in the first week of Cincinnati, but it was definitely a better day. We tried Grater's ice cream, which is pretty good. Grater's ice cream was one of the vendors. I think my wife went to Brew Brothers every day that we were there to get her coffee fix. We were slowly making our way through the through the vendor tents as well. So yep, that's day 4 in the books. All right, day 5. Day 5, we continued to watch some great matches. Got to see players on the move, going between the workout facility and their lounge area, warm up, their credentialed only space where they can just go to get their heads right, get themselves together before they get out there and battle it out on the courts. We got to walk the grounds and again see plenty of players practicing. Got to see Asia Muhammad and her partner Fanny Stoller. Asia was one of the many tennis players who just got married, so my wife very excitedly wished her congratulations on her marriage. We got to meet her, get her signature, give her a little token. We got to see Rajiv Ram practicing with Joe Salisbury. Also got to get his signature. And so these are 2 of our favorite doubles players. We were also working real hard to try and find Evan King, another Chicago tennis prodigy. But unfortunately, we missed him. Maybe he left the practice courts a little early. It started to rain a little bit, and as you have probably already figured out, made a beeline for that fan zone. And my wife went to go get some water. I was watching the stuff in the fan zone while she went to go get the water, and lo and behold, she came back with Evan King's autograph. So bumped into him somewhere between the fan zone and whatever practice court he was coming off of, and she just said he was the sweetest, nicest guy. Signed the tennis ball for us. We were also able to give him a nice little token. I look forward personally to being able to meet him at some point in the future, just to shake his hand and, you know, hopefully congratulate him on a couple Grand Slam titles in the future. I see you, boy. I see you. He's doing his thing. Another one who just got married, and so to be able to congratulate him on his recent nuptials, an unexpected plus for our trip, because I didn't know if he was going to be there because of his recent marriage, but I'm glad that he was, and glad that we were able to cross paths with him. So Aisha Muhammad, Rajiv Ram, Evan King, and we also got to meet Dr. Jazz's fiance, Dr. Brian, who was popping in town, I think, getting ready for some of the stuff for their upcoming wedding. And so it was a pleasure to get to meet him and see them being the black love, black couple goals that they are. And while we were enjoying time with them and trying to find Coco Gauff and other folks on the grounds, we bumped into Chanda Rubin. Definitely a big plus. Didn't know who from Tennis Channel was going to physically be in Cincinnati, because it's hard to know when they are in the studios in Cali or when they're going to be on site. But they brought the whole busload of Tennis Channel to Cincinnati. So we got to meet Nick, and then we got to meet Chanda. It was great for my wife to get to meet and get an autograph from Chanda Rubin, since they are both from Louisiana. That was yet another interaction that just made the day that much more special. Even though my wife and I did not get to meet Coco Gauff, Dr. Jazz did. And so she got to get her photo with Coco. As we look forward to the next tournament, the hope is that we will finally get to meet Coco Gauff ourselves. So that's day 5 in the books. And so that brought us actually to our last official day of the Cincinnati Open, because we had gotten the early first week center court seats. We were there for some of the qualifying, but then the 16th was our last day. And we knew it was going to be a full day. We wanted to make the most of it. We had gotten to see Kei Nishikori during the early qualifying battle his way through a match, and I'd gotten to see Gael Monfils practice on that Tuesday. And so we finally come to our last official day, Sunday the 16th. And still had some folks that we would have loved to have been able to see, watch play, or get the opportunity to meet them, get an autograph. And then my wife said that Gael Monfils was supposed to be on the practice courts at 11. I knew that was a lie, because he was out of the tournament already. And she said, yeah, Elina Svitolina is going to be on at 12. And I was like, okay, that I believe. So how could they have gotten the schedule so wrong? He's not in the tournament anymore, and they're not playing doubles until the U.S. Open. So sure enough, we make it to the practice courts and see his name up there with Terrence Atman, hitting with him for the first hour, and then hitting with Elina, his wife, for a second hour. We got to see him do a double up of practice on that first day qualifying was happening. And I just could not believe that I had yet another opportunity to be able to see Gael Monfils. We were trying to see if we could position ourselves to intercept him before he got to the practice courts, but he is definitely a tricky one. It's like, I think they create back ways for them to be able to do stuff, and then when you think you've outsmarted them, he walks right in the front. So we wound up watching him hit with Terrence Atman about halfway through that practice. I think they had maybe one of the ball kids who plays tennis that they had invited to come hit with him. Terrence Attman actually hit with this young man for a little while. It was just a joyous experience to be able to see him make that young man's day, week, life, I don't know. The crowd definitely got into it as well because we knew, oh, this is a big deal for him. And so just to see that Terrence Attman is just that cool of a guy, to sacrifice some of his practice time to hit with this kid was so fantastic. He spent most of the time hitting with Gael, and then when Terrence had to leave the court, there were, of course, a ton of folks trying to get signatures and everything, and then Gael proceeded to hit with Elina for another 30-40 minutes. So my wife and I stayed through both of those sessions to see if I could finally meet Gael Monfils. Yes, I finally got to meet Gael Monfils. It was a joy to finally get to meet my tennis idol. I know they say you should never meet your idols because without fail they do disappoint, but he did not disappoint at all. We sat through 3 or 4 hours of his practices to finally have the opportunity to meet him, but we did. Long last, something that we can check off the list of things to do. I can just watch and pray that they are able to compete as husband and wife at Gael's final Grand Slam tournament, which would be a first for them, and that Elina's ankle heals quickly and that they will be able to participate in the US Open mixed doubles tournament event later this month. With that said, we got to see her practice with him, and how she goes about her practice tells you everything about how she plays. She definitely pushes herself, and apparently she's been doing that for a while, even with an ankle injury. And so after finally getting to meet Gael, we got to our center court seats and watch Ben Shelton play. He brings the energy. Unfortunately, he brought the energy in a loss for this particular outing, but he had just won the tournament in Canada the week before, and so it's not at all surprising that he might not have had enough left in the tank to get another match on. And I know it was disappointing to him, but he definitely brought the energy to be able to lay eyes on him in real time playing a match, doing Ben Shelton things. Was fantastic. That match was followed by Elina's match, and so we got to again watch her play because we had seen her play and win the tournament in Chicago, but this time she was up against the teenage Czech phenom Teresa Valentova, and she was bringing it. She was hitting big, and I could tell it was causing Elina a little frustration. And so Teresa took the first set. She also was bringing a lot of energy. So Elina had to muster what she had left in the tank, because she also had been playing in Canada the week before and made it to the semis. And so she'd been playing a lot of tennis lately as well, but she found another gear, pulled out the second set in a tiebreak, and then came out and put on a clinic for the third set. It was quite the way for us to be able to conclude our experience at the Cincinnati Open, watching one of our favorite players pull out a 3-set victory. Again, unfortunately, she was not able to post for the subsequent match and had to withdraw from the tournament with an injury. Again, we pray that she will get better soon so she and Gael can compete as husband and wife at a Grand Slam, which will be his farewell Grand Slam tournament at the US Open. But we shut it down, y'all. We shut it down that last night into that morning. It was well after midnight when things concluded, and we were among the last fans in the stands and on the grounds that night. But there was still one person that we had hoped to be able to talk to and meet in person, and that is the voice of tennis, Andrew Krasny. Andrew had recently lost his father, Dr. Bob. He took time to memorialize his father, came to the Cincinnati Open of 2026 and said that this was going to be the best tournament in dedication to his dad. I had sent him a message on Instagram and said that my wife and I would have hug and condolences for him, and we'd be there for Cincinnati Open 2026. Lo and behold, even after midnight, he was still on the grounds. And while I went to go use the restroom to get ready for our trip back to the hotel, my wife found Andrew Krasny and had him sign a memento, and I actually got to meet him, shake his hand, give him a hug, and individuals like Chanda, Nick, Mohamed Leani, who we also got to meet, and Andrew Krasny give a richness to tennis because of not only the personalities that they are, but how personable they are, sincere, genuine, and warm. Getting to meet the four of them during this tournament was out of this world. And then to be able to meet Gael, see Kani Shikori play, which will likely also be our last opportunity to do that, to be able to meet so many wonderful, not only players, commentators, umpires, announcers, but other fans from all over the globe during this first and one-of-a-kind experience was truly tremendous for us. And so I highly recommend the Cincinnati Open. As we get to more tournaments, I may be able to give that same recommendation for other events, but the Cincinnati Open is absolutely a one-of-a-kind, fan and player-oriented event that has spent hundreds of millions of dollars upgrading the facilities so that everyone has a great experience there, from the players to the fans, everybody who has an interaction with any of the phenomenal volunteers, the folks there doing security, the ball kids, everybody was top notch. We definitely give the Cincinnati Open a thumbs up, and we look forward to making our return there soon. All right. I know this was a long one, but just wanted to share our wonderful Cincinnati Open experience with all of you. Talking with you soon. Take care. God bless.